All right, it's time for a little mini trip back to 1969 via a contest entry to Norman Maslow's 500 subscriber contest. If you guys enjoy my channel, you need to go over and check out Mazzy. Mazzy's his nickname. It's what he's known as in the vinyl community. Very informative, very entertaining videos. Very knowledgeable man. Check him out. So this is his contest, which is all partially about the year 1969. It was a very big year for a lot of us people. I was still a teenager in 1969, and I remember watching the launch and the subsequent landing and the walking on the moon. I remember watching those on TV. And of course, the other big thing from 1969 was the Woodstock Festival. By the time this video was out, the 50th anniversary will have commenced. I've got my 50th anniversary Woodstock button, and of course a Rhino Records summer of 1969 promotional thing. But anyway, let's get on with the contest. So Mazzy's got some questions that he wants us to answer, and I'll just get right to it. First question is, show an album that you think everyone else should own. No doubt, everybody should have some Leonard Cohen. Man, he was just an amazing artist, amazing poet, and you just can't beat Leonard Cohen. All right, next is show one record that you would play to put someone in the mood or put yourself in the mood. I thought about several things, but this one just came to mind. Urubamba. Urubamba. I think there was another name for this group. I believe it was Los Incas, perhaps. But Urubamba, if you're familiar with Simon and Garfunkel, they were the band that played on El Condor Pasa. The flutes and the drums gave it a very beautiful sound. And this album is just spectacular, and it's very beautiful. It's basically South American music about the Incas, about life. It's just a beautiful album. I highly recommend this one. Sorry if I'm a little stuttery, but it's just me. I'm winging this. All right, next question is show us an album you own with beautiful cover art and packaging. Well, I've got a bunch of albums that I really love the packaging, and here's one that really comes to mind. I'm a big Roger Dean fan, and this is Ramesses Space Hymns. And I've showed this before, but I'll show it again for this video. Beautiful Roger Dean cover. This album was originally one of the early Vertigo Swirl albums. This is a reissue from a few years back, but the album folds out to this beautiful, so I can get to see it without too much glare, beautiful Roger Dean painting. And the other side has got a picture of Ramesses and his partner, Sale. Very beautiful album. Very interesting album too, musically. Another honorable mention in that is a very similar theme is the Hawkwind Space Ritual. And let's see if I can do this without damaging something. All right. Yeah, see, there's the albums and their sleeves, and This album it folds out in a similar way to the Ramesses album. Goes out to this big monster thing there. Lots of psychedelia on the inside. So yeah, some cool stuff. Hawkwind and Ramesses. Hawkwind's got a lot of cool records. All right, next question is: show an artist whose entire catalog you own or are working on owning everything. And I'll just have to come up with, I've got a bunch of artists that I dearly love that I've tried to get everything from, but it's impossible. But Walter/Wendy Carlos, I've tried to get everything that I could possibly find from this artist. Switched on Bach, well-tempered synthesizer. Switched on Bach 2. It's a masterpiece in ambient music here. Sonic Seasonings. This was his version of the Clockwork Orange soundtrack music. This is kind of a fun album. By request, Walter Carlos. Just a collection of odd songs, leftovers from other projects. Here's after the transition, it became Wendy. And this was one of the first Wendy Carlos albums called Digital Moonscapes. And there's another Wendy album. This is Beauty in the Beast. This album, Wendy was experimenting with not just synthesis, but with a lot of strange tunings, a lot of different temperaments. This is one you don't see too often. He made an album with Weird Al Yankovic. This is Peter and the Wolf with Carnival of the Animals. All right. Kind of a sort of a comedy album. Of course, this was the Disney Story of Tron album, which featured Wendy's music. This is a reissue of the Switched On Brandenburgs, which contains Wendy's versions of the Brandenburg concertos by Bach. And this is a great one here. This is the Audio Fidelity reissue of the Tron soundtrack. Liner notes by none other than Michael Fremer. Cool record. All right, next question. Show an artist who released their first album in 1969. Man, there's so many artists released records in 1969. I thought first about this one. This is a pretty obvious choice. But this is a lesser known album, which I really, really dig. So this would be my pick. I'm not sure if they released many more albums after this or if any, but this is a kind of a holdover from psychedelia, kind of proto-prog. Very interesting album. Touch. That's the name of the band and the name of the album. This is Touch. And the keyboard player, this is the story I've heard anyway. The keyboard player from the Kingsmen that played the original riff of Louie Louie was actually the keyboard player for Touch. Just a little bit of word of mouth trivia. All right, next question is show your favorite album from 1969. And if you've seen my backdrop, all of these albums are favorites of mine from 1969, and there's so many others. But one that I kept coming back to that means a lot to me was this album. This is Joe Bird and the Field Hippies, The American Metaphysical Circus. And this is a freaky, almost Dada at times, psychedelic album from 1969. Very unique. I highly recommend this album too. If you like kind of off the wall different trips, this album will put you there. All right, and finally, one last question, which is a bonus. And the bonus says, name Mazzy's 3 favorite bands and show one album from each of them. And wear a hat while you show this. Okay. Well, I've come prepared. A couple of things here. Here's my hat. I got these are my glasses. And, of course, Mazzy, not in all his videos, but in a lot of his videos, he has a little libation. His favorite, obviously, being a martini, or one of his favorites. And one of my favorites is an old-fashioned red eye. So, cheers. All right. Mazzy's favorite artist. Here's one of my favorites by the Kinks, Misfits. Love this album. I don't have a big discography of Kinks records, but this one has always been one of my favorites. And the Byrds. This is currently, I think, my favorite. This is the first edition of mono of the Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man. Love this album. Love it. Sounds so good in mono. And finally, the Beatles. This is a nice little specimen here. This is an original VJ copy of Songs and Pictures of the Fabulous Beatles. So that is my entry, and folks, be sure to check out Mazzy. It's called Norman Maslov. I'll have a link below. Check him out. Watch his videos, sub, comment, and do the same for me. So, peace. 50 years. 50 years from 1969. I remember so much from that year. My dad was going to buy me tickets to see the Woodstock Festival, and this never worked out. So, but we got a lot of memories. Peace, my friends.